Hello guys and welcome to a new video. In this video we're going to talk more about variables and also we're going to start looking into if statements and how if statements are implemented in PHP. So for this I'm actually going to create a new file. So we have been working on index.php, but we're going to actually create a new file for this. So this is my project. I'm just going to click add and then create something like variables.php. So remember the .php extension. For this, I'm actually going to just copy a lot of the code from this one because it's just going to look similar. Like, the HTML part, there's not going to be any changes. I'm just going to leave the PHP in here, and that's where my PHP code will appear. So something like variables in PHP. Now, one thing we did last time was we looked into string variables. So if I have like str Walsh University, you could actually, so we did this in double quotes, and in Java, all strings, they have to be enclosed in double quotes. PHP allows you to do double quotes as well as single quotes for strings. So if I do str2 North Canton, Ohio, this is perfectly valid. Now watch this. If I do echo paragraph str, we said this is no problem. So if I actually, it's complaining about something. I don't know what's, let's just see the file and see what exactly. So we called it variables. So unexpected double quotes on line 14. I'm not really sure what that is. So North Canton University. Oh, that's echo. It's not the sign echo. So that's Walsh University. Now if I take the same thing and do single quotes str, see what we're gonna get. Notice we get exactly this kind of like $str. So it doesn't evaluate this to the variable str when you do single quotes. And again, it's perfectly fine if you want to define a string variable with single quotes. That's perfectly okay. But when you want to do something like printing with echo, if you use double quotes, it's just gonna evaluate whatever string variable inside of those double quotes. But for single quotes, you cannot do that. So for single quotes, if I wanted to do this, what I could do is something like, like p dot for concatenation, str2 dot for concatenation, and then p. And that would work, no problem. So it's really up to you to determine. In my experience, I think you're going to need to use both. And we're going to see examples on why this is going to be needed as well. Now, another thing I also want to talk about is there's a built-in function called var_dump. So var_dump kind of like has a echo built within that, and it allows you to know more about the variables that you have. So in terms of like what data type they are, and maybe like some other characteristics, like if it's a string, how many characters in that string actually exist. So if I do var_dump str, and notice it prints, it tells me this is a string that is of 17 characters, and the string is actually Walsh University. So it becomes really handy because we know PHP is a loosely typed language, so you can change the data types of your variables as many times as you want without a problem. So this is really helpful, and you will find yourself using that sometimes when you do debugging on your code. Okay, so this is one. The other thing I want to talk about is if statements. So I'm actually gonna, I'm just gonna keep those just to show you how that is perfectly fine. So I will just have some h4, kind of like a separator. And then I will have PHP, and that's my PHP now. And in here, what we will do is have, some variables. So let's say like 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is a 3, and then 10 is 10. Okay. So now, let's actually do like if statements in PHP. So in PHP, it doesn't look any different from Java. It's almost identical. So you need to know all the relational operators like less than, greater than, less than or equal, etc. These are some things you need to know, and I'm sure you guys know them already. In addition, things like for instance, like plus plus, so variable name plus plus is just going to increment the variable by 1 and things like that. That's just going to be identical from Java. So for instance, if I do if 1 is less than 10, which is true, I'm just going to actually echo 1 is less than 10 and close that in a paragraph, for instance, and then semicolon at the end. And if I, 1 is less than 10, I know it's true. And then else, if you have like if else, like kind of a boolean condition, if true, otherwise what you're gonna do, so echo inside the else. Now obviously no changes in here because semicolon, I keep forgetting the semicolon. No changes, but then if I actually say if 1 is less than -10, it's basically prints inside the else. And again, doing like something like this, I find is helpful. Now, typically you will find yourself doing like if, else if, and things like that. So currently with this format, as you guys know from your Java classes, this is going to be evaluated. This is always Boolean inside of the if. In this case, it's false. Because it's false, it's just going to be skipped and the else is going to run. But PHP allows you to do something like multiple ifs. So if you have set of conditions but you want only one of them to run, you would need to use if, else if, else if, else if, a number of else ifs, and then in the end you will have one last else. So that last else is gonna run only if all other ifs before that happen to be false. So for example, if I do if 1 is greater than 2, 1 is greater than 2. And let's just have another if statements in here. So if 1, in here I will have else if. So notice, unlike Java, in Java it's 2 separate words. In PHP it's just 1 word, no spaces. 1 less than 10, and then I'm just actually putting some random variable, like there's no logic in here. 10, and then this is else if, and then in the end I will have one last else. So echo paragraph inside the else, close the paragraph, semicolon, and then one is I'm just actually gonna make it like simpler, just like by 1, just giving them some IDs like 1. Just gonna copy this because I'm gonna actually change this a number of times. This is gonna be 2, this is gonna be 3, and this is gonna be 4. Yeah, so let's run line 36. We have undefined variable 2. Yeah, so that's 2 in here. So now we get 2. So see, what we have is a number of conditions. And because this is else if, from all these 4 different conditions, uh, exactly one is going to run. Despite the fact that it could be the case where multiple of these are actually true. If none of these 4 conditions is true, the else is just going to run. So in this case, 1 is not greater than 2, that's false. So your program is just going to actually skip to this next else if. 1 is less than 2, that's true. So we run this, and then essentially everything else is just going to be skipped. Nothing is going to be, happen to be true. So now, in fact, these 2 conditions, this is false, this is false. Even if I change this to be true, my program would not actually see any difference, because again, that's the case with if and else if. I think that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. In the next video, we're gonna start talking about arrays. Okay, so see you guys in the next video.